Hello, this is the non-dual lectionary for the fourth Sunday of Lent, year A. For this week, we have another long reading from John, all of John chapter 9. So let's just jump right into it. As he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciple asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar began to ask, Is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Some were saying, It is he. Others were saying, No, but it is someone like him. He kept saying, I am he. But they kept asking him, Then how were your eyes opened? He answered, The man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and said to me, Go to Siloam and wash. Then I went and washed and received my sight. They said to him, Where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was a Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. Then the Pharisees also began to ask him how he had received his sight. He said to them, He put mud on my eyes, then I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, for he does not observe the Sabbath. Others said, How can a man who is a sinner perform such signs? And they were divided. So they said again to the blind man, What do you say about him? It was your eyes he opened. He said, He is a prophet. The Jews did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the parents of the man who had received his sight and asked them, Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? His parents answered, We know that this is our son and that he was born blind. But we do not know how it is that now he sees, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him, he is of age. He will speak for himself. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that anyone who confessed Jesus to be the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, He is of age, ask him. So for the second time they called the man who had been blind, and they said to him, Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered, I do not know whether he is a sinner. One thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see. They said to him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I have told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Then they reviled him, saying, You are his disciples, but you are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he comes from. The man answered, Here is an astonishing thing. You do not know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but he does listen to one who worships him and obeys his will. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered him, You were born entirely in sins, and are you trying to teach us? And they drove him out. Jesus heard that they had driven him out, and when he found him, he said, Do you believe in the Son of Man? He answered, And who is he, sir? Tell me so that I may believe in him. Jesus said to him, You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he. He said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. Jesus said, I came into this world for judgment, so that those who do not see may see, and those who do see may become blind. Some of the Pharisees who were with him heard this and said to him, Surely we are not blind, are we? Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would not have sin. But now that you say we see, your sin remains. I want to start just actually with this last paragraph here, right? This is John doing his thing again, right? Where he's really talking Jesus as cosmic Christ, right? Embodying true nature. The psychological self is just almost not a part of the story at this point, right? Because Jesus just speaking as the universe, as what is in this moment, right? Where life is. And I came into this world for judgment so that those who do not see may see, and those who do see may become blind. And I mean, again, it's like it's a little bit of a Zen koan and just a little unpeeling that like bursts forth, right? So those who do see may become blind is like, every one of us who, from the perspective of our psychological self, right? When we take that on as our identity, we pretend that we see, right? I mean, that we pretend, we walk around the world as if that is the way that things are. Um, and Jesus is like, so everyone is walking around saying, "Well, I see," right? And he's saying, those who claim to see, right? Those who imagine that that is their true self, if you follow this line, if you not if you follow this line, like reality will find a way, right? Like, and so Jesus speaking as reality is saying, like, yeah, that's going to go away, right? You are going to be, your sight is going to go. Like, that's not going to be real, and you're going to realize that. And those who do not see may see, right? Is the flip side of all that too. It's not quite the flip side because it's not those who, pretend they don't have a psychological self, right? But it's it's something like, once once that recognition takes hold, right? And we start to break down our identity with that self, it's not like always, it's not like always what comes in the wake is this, beautiful realization, true nature, songs from above, like some of the stories get told, right? Um, it can for some people, but I mean, I remember having an experience on retreat where not in the middle of meditation, actually, just walking around, but in the context, right, of hours a day of meditating and silence and all that, I had a hit of just like, oh, it all goes away, including what I call myself, right? And it wasn't an idea, it was like a realization of like the deep truth of that. And nothing came in the back. Like the inspiring stories are, upon that realization, right? Then like, the rush of realization and the rush of recognition and the true self emerges. But in that moment, nothing came in. It was just like nothing on the other side. And it was, in a sense, it was pretty depressing, right? And so that to me is the like do not see part, right? And Jesus is just giving like hope here, right? That like, yeah, upon that recognition, upon that realization, there isn't a promise that like, oh, it's not another way of putting it, right? It's not a do this and get that sequence, right? Um, but there is a promise that like in uh the living through of that realization, right? That something does come forth. And it may not look like what we think it looks like, right? Because again, if it was, then the psychological self could turn it into an accurate concept and we'd be playing the game again, right? So there's like the hope that comes with, we can use the word faith or belief here, right? Although those are loaded, obviously, but that's where true, like the trust that comes in. So just that one little sentence, right? We can unpack that, and it's this again, like almost a koan, a riddle, but revealing, deep truth to the extent that we can live inside of it. Um, and the last sentence, right? Reinforcing the same idea. If you were blind, you would not have sin. But now that you say we see, your sin remains, right? And sin here not meaning like you do bad things, right? But like you aren't plugged in to reality, right? You aren't living, as life. Um, so it's like if you could recognize, right, that what you believe, what you think is not real, then you would have, you could get plugged in, like that could come forth. But the idea that you're like, no, I've got this means that's what prevents us from plugging in, right? From realizing true nature. And then the whole story, is building to that. And there's all these little gems in there. I'm not actually going to go through it all. But I think if we read the end from that perspective, right, then just a couple hints, right? As we go back through, we can see all these, again, there it kind of starts with this. um, you know, the disciples, well, was this, is it because this man sinned or his parents sinned, right? Like, whose fault is this thing? And Jesus like cuts through it again, right? He says he's born blind so that God's works might be revealed, but even that, if we think about it from our psychological self perspective, is going to screw us up. And that's how most, not, well, I don't know about most, but traditionally, right? It gets mistaken, right? So it's, wait, who's to blame here, right? Did he screw up and God punished him, or did parents screw up and God punished him? And the next sentence is not saying, oh, God did this in a way that, in a linear, logical way that you understand so that God's works might be revealed, although it reads that way, right? It's again Jesus speaking from true nature, and so saying, no, he's born blind because that's what reality did here. But look what life can do with that, right? Look what reality does with that from a different perspective, from a different identity, even. So that it's not like what caused this, what, so that we can avoid that thing and we can get that next thing that comes after it. No, 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 no. It's just, here is reality. This is what is here. And now, um, what's revealed is what comes next of what is, right? So again, like we could go through, there's all sorts of good stuff in there from kind of from that, that general insight or recognition. But, as always, right? Like John in particular, what we've got here is, Jesus, living as true nature, right? Almost, that psychological self that just kind of coming to the background while true nature comes to the fore. And so we've got reality speaking as what is about what is in the moment. And it's confusing to everybody there in the moment. It's confusing to us. And we try to take it the same way the disciples do, right? We're like, oh, we're smarter than, it's not that his parents sinned and caused his blindness, or he sinned and caused his blindness. It's actually probably congenital or maybe environmental. And that can all be true to the extent it goes. Um, but Jesus is sitting here going like, I'm not talking about cause and effect. I'm not talking about story and what's a more accurate story or not. He's cutting through all of that, right? Living as true nature, as teacher, as what is in the world to reveal what is, a son of God to reveal that we're all children of God, and on and on it goes. How cool that we get to dip into this.